Marco Rubio toughened his message against Iran and defended the United States' military response after Iranian forces opened fire on American ships in the Strait of Hormuz. This Friday, May 8, 2026, the phrase that defined Washington's position was blunt: "Only stupid nations don't retaliate when they get shot at." The most powerful Secretary of State in the United States said that the American destroyers were in international waters. They were attacked by missiles, drones, and fast boats and responded to protect their own crew. Rubio offered a new interpretation of the crisis by suggesting that they might resume bombing the Islamic Revolutionary Guard with brutal force. I'll tell you all about that in a moment, but right now you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed with real-time information and top-quality journalism. Milson Alves, the standard of credibility. The central point of Rubio's statement was not an empty threat. It came after a new exchange of fire in the Strait of Hormuz, where the United States Central Command stated that Iranian attacks against 3 Navy ships were intercepted. According to the American report, no United States ships were hit and American forces attacked Iranian military facilities linked to the aggression. Trump also stated that the 3 destroyers came through undamaged and that Iran suffered losses at the points used to attack. The American ships were involved in the effort to reopen the maritime passage. Within Project Liberty, an operation presented by Washington as defensive and aimed at protecting the transit of commercial vessels. Rubio separated this phase from Operation Epic Fury, which he declared ended after hitting Iranian military targets. The new phase, according to him, is more limited, escorting, coordinating, protecting routes, and responding when there is an attack. And it was at this point that he put it bluntly: there is no ceasefire that forces a navy to accept a missile without responding. The situation grows more serious because Hormuz already has casualties and stranded vessels. Rubio stated days earlier that at least 10 civilian sailors died during the crisis, and that about 23,000 people from 87 nations were on ships detained or threatened in the region. This explains why Washington treats the case as an international emergency and not just as a dispute between 2 armed forces. Iran is trying to turn the crisis into a pressure tactic. The American accusation is that Tehran started acting as if it could authorize, block, tax, or threaten passage through an international route. Rubio called this unacceptable because if the world accepts that a local force controls a passage used by several nations, other powers might copy the method in other sensitive areas. His statement was not only against Tehran. It was a warning to the allies who condemn Iran in speeches but back down when it's time to support concrete measures. In Rome, Rubio made it clear that the White House expects more than diplomatic notes. He questioned why European allies wouldn't support the American attempt to confront Iran and reopen Hormuz. Italy tried to balance its relationship with Washington, its domestic policy, and the economic burden of the war. But Rubio put the issue in simple terms. If a nation rejects Iranian control of an international waterway, it needs to say what it is willing to do besides complain. The crisis also affected NATO. Rubio noted that one of the reasons the United States keeps forces in Europe is the ability to project power in emergencies. When alliance members make it difficult to use bases at critical moments, Washington begins to review the strategic usefulness of that structure. The message was firm, but it was not abandonment, it was pressure. The White House wants the allies to understand that the security guaranteed by the United States also exists. It demands cooperation when the threat becomes real and appears at sea. At the same time, Rubio kept the diplomatic door open. He said that Washington was expecting an Iranian response regarding possible negotiations and that they expected something serious. But he also described the Iranian system as fractured and dysfunctional, which helps explain why Tehran sometimes talks about negotiation and other times turns to attack, naval threats, and pressure on cargo ships. This internal confusion leads to the American assessment that only real pressure forces the regime to calculate the cost of continuing to test the United States. The dispute has also reached the United Nations Security Council. The United States and Gulf allies are pushing for a resolution against attacks on ships, illegal toll collection, and the use of mines in the region. The Iranian representative, on the other hand, made the normalization of maritime traffic conditional on the permanent end of the war and the lifting of the American blockade. Washington interprets this position as blackmail. Iran creates risk at sea, holds vessels, then tries to negotiate its way out of the problem as if it were offering stability. Rubio also connected the Iranian behavior to the use of allied groups in the region. When talking about Lebanon, he described Hezbollah as an Iranian agent and stated that the group poses a risk to Israel, to the Lebanese government, and to the Lebanese population itself. For Washington, the logic is the same. Tehran uses direct forces at sea and indirect forces on land to expand its ability to threaten. The difference now is that Trump has set the American response to a different pace. If the threat targets Americans, ships, or vital routes, the reaction is not limited to statements. Rubio's statement recalls an old pattern in United States security policy. When Americans are attacked and the responsibility is attributed to a hostile regime, Washington tries to restore deterrence with force. On April 15, 1986, Ronald Reagan ordered strikes against targets in Libya after the bombing of the Naval nightclub in West Berlin, which was frequented by American military personnel. The attack killed 2 American soldiers and a Turkish woman, and left more than 200 injured. The response, called Operation El Dorado Canyon, was presented as retaliation against terrorist activities attributed to the regime of Muammar Gaddafi. The historical lesson is harsh. When a dictatorship tests America's limits, delay can seem like weakness, and weakness can invite new attacks. Rubio used different words, but the logic is similar. A power that does not react when its strength is attacked teaches the enemy to strike again. Other nations have also shown that blockades, invasions, and attacks on strategic routes or territories rarely go without consequences. In 1982, Argentina invaded the Falklands, and the United Kingdom sent a naval force to retake the islands, ending the war with Argentina's defeat. Now, the next step depends on Tehran. If Iran responds with a serious proposal, negotiations can move forward under American pressure. If it insists on missiles, drones, fast boats, and illegal control of traffic, the United States Navy will remain authorized to defend itself. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the facts every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.